Yeah, so good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about terror, but also I'm going to add a little bit about the wars that Israel had, and we'll see about the situation now in Israel and nowadays. I can tell you that the terror in Israel against Israelis, against Jews in the land of Israel, start before the establishment of Israel, before 48. Also, we had riots in 37, 38 against Jews in Hebron, against Jews in Jerusalem, against Jews all over Israel, basically. We know the Jews settled in Israel before. We always had presence in Israel. Now, after the 48 war, the independence war, right? You remember the independence war? Yeah, 48 war, where Israel fought against Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan. Israel managed to prevail, and Israel won the war. And again, then we had the 6-day war. Why do they call it the 6-day war? Oh, you see, it wasn't that complicated, guys. Okay. And in the 6-day war, we had Israel versus Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. Good job. Yeah. What happened then was that Israel managed again to prevail and to win, and gaining more land. Now we're talking about the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the Golan Heights up in the north, and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Now the Sinai Peninsula, it was a land filled with oil, filled with natural gas, something that Israel really needed. Okay, because we don't have a lot of natural resources. And the Sinai Peninsula was something that Israel really needed. After a couple of years, of course, there was a peace agreement with Egypt in 1980, and Israel gave back the Sinai. Yeah. You want to know why, really? They didn't want it. Egypt didn't want it. As is. Okay. The same thing happened with the West Bank. Okay, the same thing happened with the West Bank with the peace agreement with Jordan in 1994. Again, the peace agreement was, you're going to get this and this and this, but the West Bank, we don't want it, we don't need it, so you're going to be with it. So, in that time, those were the cases. We had wars. You know, Israel had a lot of wars in between 48 till this day, sadly. But then in the late 80s, we had the first Intifada. Now, this is where I'm going to start a little bit talking about terror. Now, what's the difference between me, a soldier, okay, I'm in the Israel Defense Force, fighting with, let's say, the Egyptian army, with another soldier? I have my own uniform, right? I've got my helmet, my vest, my weapon. I'm fighting a different, somebody else, a different soldier, wearing his own uniform with his own vest. I can see, okay, is my enemy. We're gonna fight. Probably one of us gonna, you know. And what's the difference between fighting with another army, between fighting terrorism?
I think it's called asymmetrical warfare.
Can you describe a little bit? Can you? Okay. Do they have any laws that they need to obey?
No.
They can do basically whatever they want, right?
No.
They don't care about the UN. They don't care about like the civil warfare. They don't care about nothing. Another aspect is when I fight an army versus an army, I know I have my uniform. This guy has his own uniform. And in terrorists, do they have uniforms? No, right? They can absorb in the crowd. They can dress whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. Nobody knows. And in the late 80s, the first Intifada, it was a big thing in Israel. There were a lot of terrorists attacking Israel in all of the cities. And in that Intifada, I can tell you, it was more like improvised weapons and rocks. And when I'm talking about rocks, just imagine, you know, like every time that I give in those lectures, people tell me, rocks, oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Like people in Israel, you have got guns, you've got tanks, you've got missiles, you've got everything, fighter jets and everything. But with guns, let's say you're driving your car, okay? In Jerusalem, for example. You're driving your car 70 kilometers an hour, and you're going to get a rock on your windshield. What's going to happen? You're probably going to get into a car accident, and you're probably, if you're driving 70 miles an hour, I don't know if you're going to make it out in one piece. And this is something that Israel didn't know exactly how to handle with. Because just imagine, you're fighting basically anybody in the street. They're all like invisible. You don't know exactly who you're fighting with. In that time, a lot of people lost their lives. Israeli, Palestinians, a lot of terrorists lost their lives because we fought them. And I can tell you that the second intifada in the beginning of the 2000s, it was much worse. In that intifada, we're talking about suicide bombers. Now, those suicide bombers attacked Israeli civilians all over Israel. Tel Aviv, Haifa, Jerusalem, Beersheba, whatever, everywhere. There wasn't a single place in Israel that was safe. I can tell you seriously. All of us know that, all of us experienced that. Every Israeli that you will ask knows somebody that neither lost their lives in a war, in those terror attacks, got injured, got hurt, or was like, saw it. It happened all the time. Thousands of Israelis lost their lives. And again, Israel didn't know exactly how to handle with that problem. What we did was in 2004, 2005, we started building the security fence, security border. You've heard about it? Around the West Bank. Now, after building that security fence, there was a decrease in 95% in terror. Just imagine the number. 95%. Almost all of the suicide terror attacks disappeared, stopped. Now people, like a lot of people criticize Israel because of that security fence, right? We call it the separation war, the apartheid war, the wall. But they don't really understand that there's a need. The security fence is there for a reason. It's not because, okay, I want to build a fence 9 feet tall and, oh, that's beautiful. No, it's not art, okay? Believe me, I'm not a fan of that fence, but I know it's a necessity. I know it keeps me safe. It keeps my family safe. So after building that security fence, as I told you, 95% decrease in terror attacks against Israeli civilians. After that, there were almost 0 suicide bombers that exploded themselves in Israel. Okay, almost something like that. In 2005, as you remember, I'm like combining all of the lectures together, okay? So in 2005, if you remember, there were the disengagement plan from Gaza Strip, right? You remember that plan? All of the Jews, all the Israelis from the Gaza Strip were taken out and replaced back to Israel, and we gave back the land to the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, okay? What did we get in return? Hamas took over and started shooting missiles towards the Israeli grounds. We're talking about since 2005 till this day, approximately 20,000 rockets were shot into Israel. 20,000 rockets, guys. Let's say Sweden, okay? So they're your neighbors, right? On the east? Yeah, on the east. One missile from Stockholm will land in Oslo. What will happen? What? One missile, right? Let's say 10 missiles. What's going to happen then? 100 missiles. 1,000 missiles, 5,000 missiles, 10,000 missiles, 20,000 missiles. Whole hell will break loose, right? But in Israel, when it happens, and every time Israel is trying to retaliate and to respond, Israel is being criticized. And this is something that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I can tell like 2 days ago, right? I don't know if you heard about the news, but there was a missile again that was shot towards Sderot. Sderot is the city that is the biggest city closest to the border with Gaza Strip. Luckily, nobody got hurt. But this is something that we're dealing with on a daily basis. Even we have like a peace, not a peace agreement, how do you say, like a, what? Ceasefire, exactly, no, ceasefire. Ceasefire with Hamas, for example, still you've got all kinds of little organizations like Jihad Islam or whatever that will shoot a missile like to see if Israel will respond or not. So what Israel did to cope with that problem? Yeah. Good job. The Iron Dome system. Have you heard about the Iron Dome system? So briefly, I will say that the Iron Dome system is a system, it's an air defense system, which basically every time that a missile is being shot from the Gaza Strip towards Israel, there's a missile that is shot from Israel towards that missile and explodes in midair. And in the last war with Gaza, Protective Edge, I can tell you that 75 to 80% of the missiles were intercepted by that missile defense system, which is a big number, but still, some of the missiles got to their destination and hurt Israeli civilians. Now, the thing with those missiles is that they don't really aim them towards anything. They don't care. They're going to shoot it and it's going to hit whatever it's going to hit, right? It hits our schools, our homes, our hospitals, kindergartens, whatever. Have you ever been to Sderot, for example? Anybody of you? Sderot? Yeah? Can you tell like something special in Sderot that you've seen in the scenery of Sderot?
There is shelters everywhere and playing grounds for children, and it was formed like a snake, but it was actually a shelter for
Exactly.
rockets coming in.
All the schools are with like huge cement walls to protect the kids from those missiles. In kindergartens, you will see like cement, I forgot the word now, shelters. And it's sad. It's really, all the bus stops covered with cement. And that's all because Sderot is like the #1 place that the missiles will gonna hit, because they know it's really easy to hit Sderot, it's really close, and they know the coordinates and So, after that, I can tell you in that war, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu in that war said this next sentence, which was really, for me, it was like really, it really true. Israel uses rockets to defend its own civilians, but Hamas uses his own people to defend his rockets. And why do I say that? Because they store their missiles, their Qassams, their rockets in people's homes, in mosques, in schools. A couple of times we found them in UN facilities. Just imagine, this is terror, for example. They're not obeying any rule or law. And just imagine fighting with this kind of organizations. Because they use our sense of morality, because they know we're not going to just bomb a school or bomb a hospital or bomb a mosque. No, it's not easy like that. Because they use that against us. So this is fighting terror. This is a problem. This is a problem that Israel is dealing on a daily basis, even till this day. I can tell you about the recent terror attack that I want to talk a little bit about. It was the thing that led to the Protective Edge operation in the Gaza Strip in last June in 2014. Have you heard about the 3 boys that were kidnapped? And it happened, it started, I'm going to tell a little bit about it and I'm going to finish with that. And if you have questions, please ask. In 2014, June, there were 3 teenagers that were kidnapped in a bus station in close to Hebron, in the West Bank, in the south of the West Bank. They were kidnapped by 2 Hamas members. What happened was that they were trying to hitchhike. They got to the wrong car, apparently. And we started a big operation to find those boys. The operation lasted for 2 weeks. We didn't know what happened to them. We didn't know how did they end up to it and where. And it was a big operation in the south of the West Bank looking for them. Apparently what happened that 2 weeks after the searches started, we found their bodies buried somewhere on a hill close to Hebron. Now, in that time, the Israeli police released a sound tape which recorded one of the boys calling the police when he was kidnapped. And what happened was I've heard that recording. Have you heard about that recording? No? It's terrible. It was terrible. I remember I'm listening to that recording and you can see the boys like saying, I was kidnapped. And then you can hear the 2 terrorists screaming at him, put your heads down, put your heads down, put your heads down. And then you hear 3 shots. You can hear 3 shots. And you know what's the most crazy thing about it? That after they killed those boys in that car, they turned on the radio and started singing and laughing. And they killed 3 little boys, 16 years old. One of them 19 years old. So this is the enemy that we're sadly trying to fight with. And terror in Israel, it happens. I can tell you it happens. Till this day, sometimes we have all kinds of terror attacks. Not suicide bombers, but all kinds of Molotov cocktails, improvised weapons, rocks that been thrown in Jerusalem almost on a daily basis, sadly. But we're working on it, and we're going to keep on fighting, and we're going to keep on working against the terror organizations that we have in Israel. I'm going to finish here. If you have any questions. Yes, please.
I heard some Republican politicians in the US speak about trying to get Israel to join NATO. Have you ever considered that, trying to apply for NATO in Israel?
That's a good question. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know exactly why and why not. I'm not an expert about NATO, so sadly I can't really answer that question. Yeah.
Europe's solution to terror so far has been, or not a solution, but the way we try to tackle it is to take back the citizenships to those who take part in terror activities, because they are trying to ruin the country. So why should they benefit from the country? I understand it's not an easy task to just expel someone, but is that something that's done in Israel? Because I don't know whether these terrorists in that last case was Arab Israeli, but does one take the citizenship of people who clearly are on the terrorist side?
So about the last terror attack with the boys, they were Palestinians.
Yeah.
They didn't add Israeli citizenship.
I'm thinking about the terror, like, of course, one becomes a terrorist when one does a terrorist attack, but of course they were people before they did that too. Well, what does Israel do to counter?
We have a law system, and it depends very much about the person that did the terror attack. Okay, I can tell you the majority, for example, in the Second Intifada or to this day, or the shots or the missiles that have been thrown, shot from the Gaza Strip, they're not Israeli civilians. They're not Israeli Arabs. They are Palestinians with their own government, you can say. And so there's not a citizenship that I can take. Okay, so no, but of course we've got Israeli Arabs that are doing all kinds of. You can say terror attacks, but I call throwing stones terror attacks. But they're being arrested, and they're going to jail, and they're going to pay for their crimes. So, and nowadays, by the way, we're trying to look for ways to make the punishment bigger than it is now, because it was like a little bit like a year in jail or something like that. Now it's going to be more. They're working on it because they're trying to put, to scare the people from not to go to terror and not to just throw stones in the morning for fun. I don't know. Okay, so. We're working on it. But taking citizenship, it's a problem, because also, I'm not going to lie, we also have got Jewish extremists that are doing terror attacks, okay? So we have a law system that deals with that. We're a democracy, Yeah.
How is the situation in Gaza now after the war? Is it better or worse? Or?
For the people in Gaza, for the people in Israel,
like,
for the people...
Yeah, like, it was a reason why Israel was bombing and doing the things they did in Gaza, but is it still rockets coming and is it the same situation?
So when we finished the war in the last summer, I can tell you there were a couple of missiles that were shot from Gaza Strip to Israel. Okay, the exact number I can't tell you exactly, but it like 10 maybe, right? Not too, like in a year and a half, it was like 10 missiles, something like that. Every missile that was shot from the Gaza Strip, it wasn't exactly by Hamas. You need to understand, in the Gaza Strip, you have Hamas, which is in control of the whole strip, okay? But you also have like tiny organizations, like selfie organizations, that trying to always like rise the tension and cause to make Israel to start responding to every missile. So, and they're not really affiliated with Hamas. They're trying to do everything by themselves, okay? And this is what they're trying to do. Those 10 missiles, they weren't exactly shot by Hamas, okay? They were shot by Jihadi Islam or other organization that will call itself in something name, I don't know, like Jihadi something. And Israel, every missile that is shot from the Gaza Strip to Israel, Israel is retaliating. We're fighting back. Because we take Hamas as the responsible, because he's responsible for the Gaza Strip. Okay? But I can tell you that, for example, the situation in Gaza, let's talk a little bit about exactly what's going on in the Gaza Strip with the people. Okay? Because they have also people. They get millions of dollars from the international community now. Hamas is responsible. Now, the thing is that instead of like building schools now and rebuilding the houses that were destroyed, what are they doing with the money, do you think? Building more tunnels, more missiles, preparing for the next war with Israel. And this is something that Hamas is very, very good at. He's trying everything in the power not to really help his people now. He's just trying to get more power, more missiles, more firearms, more tunnels, terror tunnels. Just building a terror tunnel from Gaza Strip to Israel will cost you between $1 million to $5 million. Okay? Imagine that money will be implemented in school.
Are Gaza or Hamas, do they have the materials to make the rockets on their own, or do they import from the sea the materials, or Israel or Egypt? Where do they get the materials to make missiles?
Okay, so first of all, in Hamas in Gaza Strip, they can manufacture missiles by themselves. Okay, but those missiles will be not very impressive. They will be like smaller. They can even use a street sign. Okay, right? You know, like a stop sign. They're gonna take that and gonna cut it and they're gonna turn it into a missile. Yeah, that could happen. But the big missiles, they're not coming from the sea. They're not coming from the Mediterranean. They're not coming from the sea because Israel controls the sea. Okay. But they're coming from tunnels. You know, Gaza Strip, it's Israel, but also it has a border with Egypt. Okay, and then they have also terror tunnels from there. And they get missiles from there. They always get like shipments from those tunnels. Who's the biggest sponsor of Hamas now? Iran. Iran has a lot of money invested in terror in the Gaza Strip. They invest a lot of money trying to get those missiles into the Gaza Strip for them to shoot to Israel. So this is the main ways for them to get those missiles.
But is Egypt aware of that problem?
Oh yeah, they are aware. I can tell you that now the President Al-Sisi in Egypt hates Hamas more than Israel hates Hamas. Okay. They're like really trying to do everything in the power to destroy those tunnels, but still it takes a lot of work. But they know that Hamas is a terror organization. They see it as a terror organization. And in the last war that we had with Gaza, I can tell that Egypt was really our partner fighting with Hamas.
So I guess the relationship between Israel and Egypt are getting a lot better?
Yeah. Not a lot, no, but it's better, yeah.
How big is Hamas in the West Bank? And I read that Mahmoud Abbas was supposed to resign. And is there anyone that is possible to take over? And the last is, are the Hamas Sunni? And isn't that, if they are, a problem with cooperating with Shia?
Okay. Okay, about Sunni and Shia, I'm not sure. You know about the Sunni and Shia Hamas? I'm not sure. But okay. First of all, about the West Bank and Hamas. So as you know, 2006, Hamas took over the Gaza Strip. Okay. By the way, did it with terror, and not towards Israelis, but there were elections. Okay, in the Gaza Strip after Israel pulled out from the Gaza Strip, and Hamas took over. It took over by killing Fatah party members. And I can tell you that as a soldier that served in the Gaza Strip. Okay, I was on the base closest to the Gaza Strip, and it was funny and sad, but in those times, in those elections, when Hamas killed Fatah party members in those elections, we had to protect Fatah party members in our base, because Fatah is considered a little bit more moderate, okay, a little bit more accepting, not like Hamas. So we had to defend Fatah party members in our base, in an Israeli base, okay. Just imagine the scenario. It's weird. Now the situation and then Hamas took over the Gaza Strip, okay, and in control of the Gaza Strip. Now the West Bank is controlled by the Fatah, okay. Fatah, which is the chairman is Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, whatever you want to call him, but still they have Hamas cells here and there. But Abu Mazen knows that Hamas is a big threat. So they also put a lot of effort into arresting Hamas terrorists, Hamas party members that trying to make an uprising. So it happens all the time. I can tell you that the hate between Hamas and Fatah is greater than the hate between Israel and Hamas. Maybe you can see like a unity government that was in like a year ago, but it was just for the appearance of it. Okay, it wasn't real. It was fake. They didn't do anything together. And this day they again broke up the unity government. And now, yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, Abu Mazen resigned. Okay, you can say, but it's just a technical thing. It's still in control. It's still in charge of the West Bank. And for example, before 2006. Abu Mazen was in charge of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. This day, Abu Mazen can't even go to the Gaza Strip because they will kill him. They will kill him. He didn't visit the Gaza Strip since 2006. We're 2015 now. So they have a lot of problems besides Israel. Okay? And for them to have their own state or whatever they want to get, okay, it will take some time for them to work their own problems. And the second question, with the Sunni and Shia, on that matter, I'm like a little bit.
So what is the question?
Shiites from Iran cooperate with Hamas, that's Sunni.
So, yeah, they didn't care. They all say we are all Muslim, and even Hamas knows that Iran don't care about Palestine really, but they know they give them the weapon and such things. So they respect that things. Like as time that you give me a weapon, I don't care if you are Shia or you are Christian or you're just helping me. They don't care about this. But this conversation started, this discussion started when the Syrian revolution, because Hamas took a step very hard, like about to support Assad regime, the same regime that's supported by Iran. So at the same time that Khalid Mish'al and Hamas stopped to support to be in norm and how they call it, like natural position that they didn't support Assad and they didn't disagree with Assad. So Iran became angry and stopped the weapon support and the money support to Hamas. But after a couple of months, like they give them more money. So there is you go like this, the relationship between them.
And because I read that the relation was getting worse because of the wars in against Saudi Arabia and Iran in this small country next to Iran.
Like Saudi Arabia don't support Hamas, so they didn't care about that issue. It's more about what's happening now in Syria, because they didn't have like a position about Assad regime. So how I answered you, like, and even you see in Iraq and other places, the Sunni and Shia have fighting one to each other, and even Hamas learned from Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a Shia organization, and the tunnels and such things. We now saying in Israel maybe Hezbollah have tunnels, and we didn't know it because we always say that Hezbollah is the teacher for the Hamas people. And the issue of kidnapping soldiers. The first organization that made it is Hezbollah after the year 2000. After that, Hamas learned and make it to Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier in 2006. So that's what happened. They always learn from each other. But the problem that the Palestinian people don't know that Iran don't want to free Palestine. They want it all Shia. One of the biggest rules for the Islamic regime in Iran is to make even the Al-Aqsa and Jerusalem and to go there a country of the Persia, like the Persian people. And the Palestinian people don't care about it. I can add another point for this. In the war in 2006 between Israel and Lebanon, a lot of Arab people loved Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Shia party in Lebanon. They loved him. He put his pictures in their houses.
But in the Syrian revolution, they found that Hassan Nasrallah started to interfere in the Syrian issue and to kill other Muslims there. So they saw him before a couple of years as the survivor, as the Jesus, like he gonna free everything from his punishments and their pains. They put his pictures and like him, but his true face and his real face discovered in the Syrian civilian war, because they ask why you want to defend the Palestinian people and at the same time you kill Syrian people. So how it can be in the same thing? So a lot of people knew his agenda and knew his secret person inside him, and they started to hate him about it. And they know that he used the Palestinian people as a tool, not just because he really believes in their life.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you emphasize on how the IDF spare civilian lives, targeting terrorists and not civilians?
Okay, in the last war in Gaza, of course, we know that a lot of innocent civilians in the Gaza Strip. People just want to live their own lives in their own, with their own families. Israel is trying to do everything in their power to protect those lives. Sometimes it's impossible. In the last war, we had to, from planes, leaflets from planes, telling that, okay, this place and this place is going to be attacked because it's suspecting terror activity. We made phone calls. We tried to talk with the leaders of the villages. We tried to talking with the sheikhs of the neighborhoods, telling them exactly, okay, we're going to hit this place and this place because they are suspecting in terrorism. And just imagine, we're like losing the surprise effect. In war, it's something very important. And it happened almost before every attack. Now I can tell you that one of my friend, he was a soldier in reserve in the last war, and he was in front of I don't remember the name of the hospital, but he was in front of a hospital, and they got not missiles, but they were shot all the time from that hospitals, all the time, all the time. They were sitting, his platoon was outside, and they got shot and shots and shots. And the commander said, "Listen, you cannot attack. It's a hospital. You cannot attack this place before we will know it's safe. Because before we'll know we don't have any patients. Before we'll know there's no doctors. Before we know there's no medical equipment that is going to be destroyed. You cannot attack that. You need to have some proof." And they were fighting guns with cameras. They waited for almost a whole week, an entire week, before they could have attacked that hospital. After 6 days, they got the proof they have, and they shot that hospital. After they talked with the manager of the hospital that clarified them, okay, there are no patients in that hospital, there are no doctors in that hospital, and it's only terrorists now. So we're trying to do everything in our power in order to save those Palestinians' lives. But it's really hard when Hamas uses them as human shields.
I think
Thank you.